We're going to go live now to Pearson Airport, where a coalition is calling on the federal government to expand the Trusted Traveler program. Let's listen in.
We all know that better air travel is not just for travelers, but excellent air travel, world-class air travel, stimulates Canada's economic effectiveness, our competitiveness, our global reputation. It stimulates the power of business, and it also stimulates the benefits to households and to our families. Aviation industry, Toronto Pearson, Canada's aviation industry has weathered turbulence over the past 3 years. But today, with resiliency, with innovation, with determination, and most importantly, with our partners in business that are gathered from across this great city, we're ready to take off to new heights. I have been leading, I have been building, and have been part of major shifts in the aviation industry across the continent for nearly 3 decades. And from across the world, I know that a modern and notable, respected airport is a critical part of a world-class city. And that is what Innovate Travel Canada is all about. This coalition includes Toronto-based organizations, esteemed business leaders, and city builders. Toronto Pearson is Canada's ambition. It's a symbol of our opportunity. And it is a welcome to all to Canada and to Toronto. So we all have a very vested interest in making a great impression when people arrive at Toronto Pearson and even before they contemplate coming here. So our coalition draws on multiple jurisdictions and businesses, multiple industries from academia to sports to the arts and to culture. And the mission is to improve Toronto Pearson, because by improving Toronto Pearson, we improve the city of Toronto and this country. This morning, you'll hear from our coalition why this initiative matters to them and how excited we are to have them and to join forces together today. And before handing over the microphone to Rocco Rossi, I'll share our first policy objective from the coalition, and that is to adopt a Canadian Trusted Traveler program. A Canadian Trusted Traveler program is about improving the passenger experience for Canadians. And that is exactly what Toronto Pearson is focused on as well. In Canada, we do not have as many modern screening tools as other countries do. And that means slower processes, that means longer lines, and then a ripple effect across the operations of the airport. Many countries around the world have adopted Trusted Traveler programs many, many years ago. For example, PreCheck in the United States. It's a very safe and it's efficient way for the government to pre-vet travelers and determine them to be low risk and process them accordingly. What this does is make lines shorter for them, but it also makes lines shorter for everyone else that is traveling through the airport. I'll note that Trusted Traveler and Nexus programs are two very different things, and both are critically important. Nexus is a joint U.S. and Canadian border crossing program. Trusted Traveler is solely for Canadians and would apply for Canadians to travel faster for both domestic and international traveler departures. We're pleased that the government has started a pilot program for Trusted Traveler right here at Pearson and at a few other airports around the country. And as we approach summer 2023, we're asking the government to move from that pilot program phase and launch a national Trusted Traveler program. This program would be opt-in, very optional for all Canadian citizens and permanent residents. This is a perfect first step for summer 23 to begin what I call the national catch-up of new risk-based and technology-enabled travel processes for Canadians that will propel us all forward and create the great airport and the great Canadian aviation industry that we have enjoyed in the past and will return to in the future. Thank you, and I now welcome Rocco Rossi to the podium.
Thank you so much, Deborah, both for inviting me today and for all of the work that you and your teams are doing to fight in very difficult times with complicated processes to make things better. It was an absolute no-brainer for those of us at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce to join this initiative because I want to first emphasize the fact that it is Innovate Travel Canada, not Innovate Travel Toronto. This is not simply a Toronto issue. Pearson is the front door to the Ontario and Canadian economies. And if we're going to be real and we're going to compete with the rest of the world, we have to be as good or better than anyone else. If your front door on a major retail street sticks, is blocked, it's complicated to get in, it's too heavy to open, guess what? People have options. They will go to the next door down the street. That is not acceptable. We at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce recently issued our annual Ontario Economic Report, which showed business confidence in this province at its lowest level since we began measuring this about a decade ago. And inflation, supply chain, labor issues are bad enough. We do not need additional problems at our front door. And so we're delighted to join with a stellar group that understands that we've got to solve this together. We have to work with government, work with all partners to ensure that this gets fixed. We know this is only one piece with Trusted Traveler, but it is an important piece. It is a piece that we missed relative to most of our competitors, and that is part of the reason why we lagged them even during those difficult times of the pandemic. So let's get that fixed. This isn't just about tourism, although tourism is a significant portion of the economy. It's about all business. So this is an economic policy, not simply a tourism policy. It is a national policy, not simply a Toronto policy. And we at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce are delighted to work with our partners and with Deborah and her team to make this happen. With that, I'd like to hand it over to fellow colleague in the coalition, Scott Beck, the President and CEO of Destination Toronto, and a fellow barber utilizer.
Okay, so we were just listening in to this news conference out of Pearson Airport, where there were calls from the CEO there, along with Rocco Rossi. They're calling on the federal government to expand the Trusted Traveler program.